Well, I'm back here again. Never posted before, but been through this once. Never got confirmation. One or the other. Thousands of dollars of therapy. And a few years later, I'm back. Things started to get worse between us during the year. I can say by early summer infections started to taper off. Sex became less frequent and things became a little stale. I thought maybe she could be going through some menopause since it's around that time. I tried to be supportive. I ask if anything is wrong, but she doesn't talk about anything like that. She gets less and less affectionate. We're getting on really well, but there's no touch, no back rubs, no hugs now. Kisses, no hand holding, no hand on my leg, no playing with hair, no cuddling in bed. Touch is my love language. We spent a lot of time on this in therapy. She pulls away when I try to get a hug or initiate sex or simply cuddle on the sofa. I leave things be for a while because other areas are good. Months pass. This year we're going to my home country for Christmas. I spoke to her about booking flights. She informs me that she's booked her Christmas holidays from work for the week after Christmas. Why? Why would you do that? I thought it was her main controlling streak coming back. She was trying to sabotage her trip. Even though I haven't seen family and friends back home in more than 2 years. What have I done for her to behave this way? I ask her to change the dates. She says she can't. I ask her to work from there instead. She reluctantly agrees, even though it isn't at all a problem. I book tickets. We get a late invite to a dinner party. I thought, why were we left out until a couple of days before? I now see that she knew before, but hoped I decline on such short notice. We go. Things are good. Good people, good food, good conversation. By midnight, half the people have gone. But a few of us remain drinking and chatting, sitting around the table while engaged in conversation with a few people. I glance over at my wife. One of the guys is rubbing her back, not in a lighthearted, jovial kind of way, in a tender we know and are deeply comfortable with each other kind of way. I couldn't believe it. I said nothing, just observed while remaining engaged with a conversation I was having. I kind of died inside, but it was different this time. Feelings just switched off. I felt nothing. My farts were kind of, though. So this is what's going on? I get it now. Everything clicked into place. This guy, one of my wife's best friends, who is pretty narcissistic. We're having problems. And my wife was helping, advising, and consoling this guy via text messages earlier in the year. Would you believe I actually felt relief? They were drunk. They forgot I wasn't drinking. If they acted that way while I'm across the table from them, what's going on when I'm not around? His behavior once I started watching more closely was of someone who was smitten. I decided it was time to go home. When we got home, she scolded me for ruining the evening by leaving early after 2 a.m. and gave me the cold shoulder. Went to sleep in a huff. No change there, though. She had no intention of traveling for Christmas. She wants to spend it with a fair partner. I'm certain some other problem will come up between now and then. Meaning she can't travel. She's already complained about not having good internet access over there. Luckily, that all sorted itself out that night. I slept soundly. The next day I brought it up. Good night last night. But people got a bit drunk there before the end. I think the affair partner was hitting on. You know, he wasn't sure he was. At one point, he was rubbing her back and everything. Silence. She just stared at me. Not in an FU kind of way or a disappointed kind of way. It was crap kind of way. I let that hang for about 10 seconds, then changed the subject. That was all I needed. My decision was made. She said nothing further about it. Later in the week, she mentioned that she bumped into a fair partner in town and he was out on a date. But he asked her not to mention it to anyone. So I can't say anything. Sure thing. D-Day is next week. I don't need this mess anymore. The first time I had no proof. Just massive disrespect, lies and gaslighting from her. But I gave it a shot because I was codependent and I thought we could be fixed. We made good progress for a year and a half before things started sliding again. This time I have enough information, hindsight and self-respect to do what needs to be done. I'm not even mad. I'm more relieved than anything else really, that my intuition is working. Relieved that I'm not as broken as I thought. I was relieved that I'm not the untrusting, broken, unlovable implied by her lack of affection person she portrayed me as. I get it. Now it's time to move on. Update. So first off, thank you all for your insight and support over the last months. I really appreciate the messages of support I got. The divorce has been fully processed. I bought a new house. I moved out last week. I'm still very sad about the whole thing. The actual divorce was quite quick, but then there were months of living together while waiting on banks to sort out mortgages and paperwork. She bought my share of the property. I didn't fight it, even though it was my ideal location. I just didn't have the energy. Things were amicable. The whole time. We went through our usual routine, watched the same TV shows, ate dinner together, discussed our day. So basically, nothing changed from the 6 months prior, except I no longer cared about fixing things. While things were okay, she still made jabs at me about stupid stuff. Even in small conversations, she would have a go at me. Underhanded remarks, kind of petty stuff. It didn't really rile me up or anything. Just reaffirmed that I was making the right decision. I contacted my in-laws and let them know I was sorry about how things turned out between us. They didn't know the details and that I really appreciated being part of their family all these years. They were all very supportive and adamant that we would keep in touch despite the divorce. I had the pleasant surprise that our joint friends that I thought would side with her didn't. They pretty much stayed out of it and have been very supportive of me for the most part. So that's been great. When I went to pick up the last of my stuff and give back the key, she barely acknowledged me and that was it. Financially, she definitely got the better under the deal, but I'm happy with it. I got what I needed for the most part. I took a few days off work to process everything and so I could move at a reasonable pace. And that was definitely a good idea. I cried a couple of times over the weekend, but I was surprised it wasn't more. I'm feeling lonely now. A little bit at least. But I'm not going to even consider dating or anything like that for a long while yet. I need to just get settled and work on myself. I've booked some sessions with my therapist over the coming months in the hope that I can get on top of things more easily. It's weird, but right now I'm kind of glad I had such a horrible time trying to figure things out last summer because I think I actually did a lot of processing of my grief back then. I mean, it's still hitting me in waves and sadness, ups and downs, but it's not nearly as bad as I was expecting. So far at least, and nowhere close to what I was going through the last summer. Autumn. Our kid seems to be processing things okay so far. I feel sad for my ex too, and I hope she'll be okay and pull through this. Seek some help from a therapist or something for her own sake. I worry she'll just push all this down and blame me for everything, which won't do any of us any good in the long run. So right now, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. Let's hope it's onwards and upwards from here. The last few years have been rough with COVID and everything too. Our first reaction comes from tall, blonde and cute. Wow. Round of applause, people. This man here has done and is on the journey to happiness. This is amazing and sounds like you were following all the correct steps. You got this, man. Our next star comes from Hello F expletive, you one dude. You already went through the storm. Now you'll begin to live your good life. And besides therapy, I would suggest you hit the gym from time to time. Or get some good hobbies that you can even share with the kid. One more comment from Switchboard Friend. It's hard not to read this without giving you respect. This is the power of the one. Eddie and Greyrock. It has saved you massive amounts of pain in the long term. Short term, just lean on those friends you mentioned a little bit more. They'll be glad to help you in whatever way they can. Now, please focus on the future. Go on to not just survive, but thrive. You have it within you to be twice the dad in half the time. Your kid is lucky to have you moving on. My dad cheated on my mom and he blames me for it. I never suspected my dad to be the cheater type until last year. He was usually loving and affectionate around us, and he was the type of man who would absolutely never tolerate this kind of behavior. But today, I found out he was hooking up with the woman he met through Facebook. I literally broke down after seeing her message, and I realized he was lying to my mother when he said yesterday that he was going to meet up with a friend. But the truth is, he's going to see the woman. I immediately told my mom because I finally had enough proof after a year of doubting him. Obviously, my mother went hysterical and I couldn't blame her. It was very upsetting for a man like my dad to cheat. My dad went to my room and he blamed me for what I did. He told me, Look at what you did. Your mother's hysterical. Have you told me first? This wouldn't have happened. He had anger issues, so he threatened to strangle me after I got upset with him. And luckily my mom went in between us, or else I would be in a hospital right now. I'm totally okay. He literally gaslighted my mom and their entire conversation until he finally admitted that the reason why he wanted to meet with the woman was to commit infidelity. Am I wrong for telling my mother? Is this even my fault? Edit. Thanks for the support, everyone. I really appreciate it. P.S. Sadly, there isn't a divorce law from where I'm from. First reaction from Monkey Moves 101. You're not wrong for telling your mom. Your father is putting her health at risk by cheating on her, and it's best that she knows this. I'd be more worried about the anger issues and choking part, though she needs to get you and herself away from him. Next thought from Tertiary 78. You're absolutely 100% innocent here. You have a crap father. And when they get divorced, I suggest you go seriously low contact with him. I would tell your mother how you are feeling now. Use each other for emotional support. What life? One chimes in. Please do everything you can to support your mom. You will need each other. One thing you will learn about cheaters is that they are professional victims. Nothing is their fault. They will continue to blame everyone and everything to avoid consequences. Absolutely none of this is true. You are in no way to blame. Not for any of this. Neither is your mom. This is 100% on your dad. Period. Full stop. You will probably see a huge change in your dad. He will be mean. They usually are. You spoiled his fantasy land with the affair, partner. Please know this is who he really is. I am really sorry this happened. Your next thought from Mary K. 07. No, it's not your fault. Your dad cheated. It's his fault alone. Your mom is hysterical now, but she hopefully will be grateful for the hard evidence of something she may also have suspected. One more thought coming from Flimsy Fun. 7-7. You're not wrong. Your father is kind of a posse, unfortunately. I'm very glad your mom was able to step in and avoid that abuse.